everybody. So today I wanted to touch a little bit on some previous projects that I did, kind of give you an update on where we're at on those. And also wanted to start us off with something else today, something a little different. So I just did the ski boat video a while back, and we got it running the other day, and looks like it runs pretty good. Needs to be tweaked a little bit, but I was running it out of a gas can. I had a little makeshift fuel system there on it, and I took that back off and removed the fuel tank right there, and it was pretty easy to get out, really. Just a couple hoses and some screws, and that tank came right out. Cleaned out all the old gas and junk out of the bottom of it, and went ahead and vacuumed up the boat here, got all the big chunks of debris and stuff out of it, and it cleaned up pretty good. Pretty happy with how it turned out. So I just wanted to check everything. I left this piece out on purpose to, when we go take it to see if it floats, I wanted to have it open here so I can see if water gets in the boat or anything right here. And so I left all that open on purpose and everything, just ease of access, you know, make it easy to see. But yeah, we're gonna put some fuel in it and take it out to the lake and see if it floats, and make sure we don't have any big leaks or anything in it. I don't think we're gonna have any problems out of it. It looks like it's pretty solid. But if it floats and everything runs good, then we're gonna start working on getting this cleaned up. I'll polish this out right here and clean everything up, and we'll get some seats and stuff for it and make it basically like a brand new boat. But I think it's going to turn out really, really well. I'm really optimistic about it. Also, on the truck, I need to paint this thing, and I was thinking originally to paint it black with the wheels. I just was thinking, you know, it just didn't look real good with the white, with the wheels on it and everything the way that it was. But when I switched these wheels out and put these wheels and tires on there, it completely changed the look of the truck. And I mean, I think that white looks really good now, actually. I'm really happy with the white. So I think I'm actually, when I paint this thing, I think I'm going to paint it back white. And I think it'll turn out really nice like that. I'll just clean it up, get the dents out of it and stuff. And as you can see on the top here, we've got clear coat coming off, got a little rust starting up right here where the roof is just, you know, it's just rough. You know, it needs paint, you know, to preserve it and keep it all in good condition and everything. And also down here on the rockers, I've got this notorious Chevy GMC extended cab, the rocker rust down here, and I've got some holes right there in that panel. I'm actually going to replace that whole panel down there on the bottom, and we'll weld it in and everything and repaint it and make it look real nice. And I think I'm going to keep it white, though. I'm really pleased with how the white looks now. So yeah, I really like that. I think it looks good. But in order to paint this thing, my air compressor, I've got like one of those little 10-gallon air compressors or whatever, and it's just not up to the task. So what I did was I actually sold the wheels that came off the truck to a guy, and then bought this air compressor. And that's a 60-gallon Husky air compressor right there. And I paid, when I sold those wheels, it was just straight up. I mean, I sold the wheels, turned around and went that day and bought this air compressor for the same money. So I really don't have a whole lot in this thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pump and the motor off, and the valve and the check valves and all that, the switch on off, switch gauges and all that. I'm going to strip the tank down, because there's a little bit of rust inside of it. And you know, if you guys know anything about air compressors, when you compress air, you're creating water, and it accumulates down here and it rusts the tank out. And I don't want that on this tank. I want this tank to last a long time. So I'm going to strip it down bare, and I'm going to get that rust out of there. I'll show you how we're going to do that. And then I'm going to put a rust inhibitor paint on the inside of it, and I'm going to coat the whole inside of that tank to prevent it from rusting. That way it'll last a good long time for me. And then I'll have the air that I need to paint that truck. So yeah, that's what we're going to get into now. We're going to start taking this thing apart and getting it cleaned up. So now what I've done is I've put the plugs back in the bottom on the sides, and I left the top one open. And I got it sitting on its top, so it's upside down. And then I filled it with water. And I got some pH plus pool increaser, because I want to raise the pH in the water. So that'll help the rust come off the inside of the tank onto my electrode that I'm putting in there. And so for the top, I've got it braced up also on both sides with screws and bolts, because I don't want this tank moving. So I've got it bolted to the wall basically so it can't move. I'm trying to make this as safe as I can. And then take the cap, and I wrapped it in electrical tape on the bottom right there, so that when I screw it in, there's no direct metal to metal contact on the tank, because you don't want that. So just snug it up right there. And then I got this old fireplace pick that I had laying around, and I ground the hook off the end of it. This was a fireplace poker, and it fits perfectly through that hole. So I got it taped up right here with some more electrical tape, because I don't want metal to metal on that. And then all you do is just set, this is going to be this is where all the rust is going to go to this rod right here. You set it right down in there. Just start it just a little bit right there. Right there, that's all you want right there. Now I'll hook my cables up. That'll be my positive, and then my negative will be on that tap right there. And then I got it running over here to this battery, this old car battery. And then I'll charge the battery with a charger while this is running current through my water. And the electrons and all that jazz will go in there, and they'll be attracted to that rod, and that rust will start coming off the inside of that tank and go into that rod. And then I'll disconnect it and then pull this rod out tomorrow or something and clean the rust off of it and dip it back in, and do that again several more times until I get all the rust out of this tank. It'll be clean. So I got it hooked up now, and it's working. And you can tell it's working, because right there, you see them bubbles coming out of the top? That's a chemical reaction that's happening in there. And it's letting off gases as that reaction happens. So it's working. And yeah. But you want to be real careful with this, because you're running electricity through there. And if you touch that water while it's hooked up, or you got any kind of problem out here, you better unhook that thing. And don't touch that water, because it'll light you up and you won't be able to let go. And it can really send you to the hospital or something. So you got to be real careful with this. But it is working, and it's very cost effective. I haven't spent anything on this thing so far except for paint and primer. But yeah, this is going to do the trick right here. I had a little bit of a drip down here on this fitting, so I've got a little catch can right here to catch it, because I don't want that water going anywhere. And then I'll time it and see how long it takes to fill up. And then I'll disconnect it and remove the power, and then change this water tube out and put me an empty one back in there, and I'll start it back up again. And then I'll do it like this till it gets clean. But that's controllable. It's just a drip. It's not like not a big run or nothing, so it's okay. Everything's dry. That's the big thing. Keep everything dry, keep everything organized down here. And you want to be careful with this, because you're playing with electricity here, so you can get hurt. Don't do this at home. Alrighty, so I've been letting this thing sit for about 2 days here and letting it marinate. And it looks like yeah, she got some rust on her. It started out real shiny like that, and now it's all rusty like this, so it pulled the rust off of it. So it looks like that's about all we're going to get. It wasn't too bad, but it did pull rust off of it and put it on there. I've seen some where these rods are just caked full of rust. But my tank really wasn't that bad, so there's not a whole lot here. There's some, but not a whole lot. So that's good. So we'll drain this out and hit it with a pressure washer and dry it out, and then it'll be ready to paint. So yeah, that worked out pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and drain the water out, and I'll take these uprights off here and we'll lay it on its side, and then I can pressure wash it. And we'll just give it the beans on the pressure washer and see if we can knock any more of it out and get it real good and sprayed out and everything. And then we'll dry it out, and then we'll be ready to paint it. Alrighty, so we got our pressure washed out real good. As good as I can get it, and we got quite a bit of rust out of it. And here's some chunks that came out of it. Right there. That's just some of it right there. A bunch of it went out here in the ground. I ain't gonna pick it up or nothing, but it got a bunch of rust out of it. So now what we're doing is I got me a king cooker head down there, and we are gonna cook the bottom of this tank. We're gonna get it good and hot, and then that will evaporate all the water from the inside of the tank, because we got to make sure we get all that clean and dry now. So we got it clean. We sprayed it. It's clean. Now we got to get all the water dry, so that way we can paint it. But the king cooker originally came on here, and that burner sat right in the middle of that, and we used it to, like, you know, fry shrimp and fish, you know, whatever, you know, and that thing gets hot. I mean, it cooks. So that should not take too long to get that tank good and hot and get all that evaporated out of there, and then we'll let it cool down. Alrighty, so check this out. I got me a little rotisserie going here. I got it mounted up so that I can rotate this thing round and round and round. And what I did was I went to Harbor Freight and got me a couple of these furniture dollies. Them things are like $5 a piece or something real cheap. And yeah, I got them sitting on there. That way I can just roll this thing around while I'm painting it. So that ought to be pretty neat. And then that way I can distribute my paint evenly on the inside of this tank. I'll just roll it around as I'm doing it, and that ought to work. So this is what we're going to be using to paint the inside of that tank. We got Rust-Oleum High Performance Rusty Metal Primer. That's a good inhibitor, a rust inhibitor. We'll put that in there. It's oil-based, so it shouldn't chip or nothing. Should stick real good. And I'm going to thin it with this acetone right here. We'll mix that acetone in with that to make it thinner, because what I want to do is I'm going to use this pump sprayer right here, and this is how I'm going to apply it inside the tank. It's got to be thin enough that it'll go through this sprayer. I took the filters out and everything on it, and then I made this tip right here. This was the original tip, the spray one that came with the sprayer, but it wasn't long enough. So what I did, it's made out of plastic. So I just cut it and put a piece of hose in there and put a piece of rebar on it to reinforce it. That way I can get all the way up in that tank, and I could spray it as I'm coming out. That'll allow me to get good coverage there with this. So I think that's going to work really good if I can get it thin enough. Now, I don't know if you can see down in there or not, but that is pretty darn good right there. So I just painted it, and I mean, it is coated. I use that little rotisserie method or whatever and spun my tank around, and I mean, it came out good, real good. So now we'll just let that dry and turn it up, letting it all kind of work its way down that way. Flip it over, let it go back that way, rotate it around, swirl it around that way. And yeah, that's going to be real good right there. I'm real happy with that. So after this dries, we'll be ready to put it back together and mount it. So here's something I figured out the other day. When you paint the inside of the tank, the paint won't dry. You gotta move air inside the tank to get that paint to dry in there. It's just like putting it back in the paint can or something. It just stays liquid. So I found an old, looks like an old mass machine or something here, and it blows air. And I got it covered up to keep the rain off of it, but I just got the tube running in there, and now I'm blowing, circulating air in there. And that's going to make that paint dry in there. Otherwise, it would just stay liquid, you know, and just run to the bottom, and then that wouldn't work. So this right here will get it dry. So I know you guys y'all probably already knew all that, but that's something that I just learned by doing this. So anyways, after this dries, we'll be ready to finally put it back together again. So we got her all put back together now. That project really turned out great. The inside of the tank, the paint, everything dried good. It looks good. This air compressor ought to give me years of good service now. And I went ahead and mounted it up and put some concrete bolts in it and some vibration pads on it. So that way, you know, when it runs and it vibrates and stuff, it won't do any damage or anything. But yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out, and thank you guys for watching, and thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you guys on the next one.